Hey guys, welcome back. It's Cult of Film, and I am fresh from viewing of 2024's In a Violent Nature, which opened this week as of this recording. And I figured I would do a quick review. I'm going to really work hard not to spoil anything. These other movies that are older that we do, the cult classics, the big tentpole movies, um, we do tend to talk about in detail, and my goal is going to be not to spoil as much of this as possible, because you can go out and see it now, and I really do think it is worth seeing. What grabbed me in the initial trailer was how much it looks like Friday the 13th Part 2. It definitely had that slasher feel. There's a killer in the forest, there's young people camping, and all hell breaks loose. We all kind of know those tropes of the slasher. What's really well done about In a Violent Nature is that while it does those things, it really doesn't fall into any of the traps of the slasher genre. It doesn't play to the tropes of it. And if it does, I think it does so really well and still sort of against um, the expectation. It's beautifully shot, for a movie that is a slasher, a true horror film. And I will warn you, the kills are a lot. Like, whew, a few times I had to look away. I'm like, okay, is it still going on? Oh, jeez. It was a lot. I'm, we're big fans of horror on this channel, but it's never splatter fest. It's gory. I particularly am not into. I like atmospheric. I like noir, mysterious, suspense. I'm not afraid of a little blood. I'm not afraid of monsters, but I'm of the belief that the less we see the monster, the scarier the monster is, and all that. But In a Violent Nature really does a very good job. Tremendous restraint on the part of the director and I believe writer Chris Nash. A lot of the shooting of the movie is we're behind the killer. So we're like, it's as if we're following him through a lot of the film, as if we're just two steps behind him. And so that perspective is really interesting. The so yeah, wherever he filmed this, I believe this is a Canadian film. I could hear a lot of boots, and yeah, it's kids are this killer, in the forest, eh? Nobody says a. They know not to say a because that immediately gives it away. But it's clearly a Canadian film. Um, Again, beautifully done, great slasher. Um, but wherever they were, a heavily forested area, it really works. There does come a point where you really are quite discombobulated with where people are running or where people are going or where the killer is going. But just incredibly well shot, well uh, written, and again, the restraint that Chris Nash shows. It's not kills wall to wall. When the kills happen, they are pretty significant. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. Lucio Fulci, eat your heart out. This guy does a really great job. Um, Also, one of the things that I thought really set this movie apart and really prevented it from being any type of formulaic slasher is the fact that how he sort of explains what's going on, the killer's motivations. Why is this happening? How do the people in the town know or not know about it? How the young people in the forest come to know about it. The way he sort of peppers it in across the movie and does a really great job of it, but does it in an order, not quite Pulp Fiction, but not quite that sort of formulaic rolling out of, okay, and then this happens and this happens. We've seen this a million times before. He doesn't do that at all. It's a very out of rhythm, I guess, breakdown of plot points of how things unfold and how the plot progresses. And I really appreciated that. I can't remember the last time I watched a suspense thriller, let alone a suspense thriller horror film, where I really lost track of time. I went in there with, an energy drink in me, wide awake, ready to just absorb this movie. And I sort of lost track of time of how long I had been watching it, how long things had been going on, in a good way, not in a bad way at all. There were, again, the only times I looked away from the screen were due to some of the creative kills that occur in the film. So good for him. He's going to get um, a lot of accolades for that. But just overall being a really quality film. Again, he shows a lot of restraint with it not being wall to wall kills, it not being wall to wall gore. He's very selective about how he does that. And again, the way the cinematography is really amazing. Some of the sunsets, which again, you don't necessarily think about when you think about a horror film. Speaking of Lucio Fulci, Fulci was such a master at directing his films that one of the things that sticks out about, particularly about the Gates of Hell trilogy, which is City of the Living Dead, The Beyond, and House by the Cemetery, they're incredibly aesthetic films. Even if the narratives are a bit wonky and some of the uh, kills and scares are set piecey, one thing you cannot say about Fulci is that it isn't beautifully executed in terms of just the picture of it, the painting of it, and Chris Nash really does that well too. And there's, I don't know, I'm sure people will have trouble with some of the violence in this movie, because if you have trouble with violence in general, you don't watch this movie. If you have a problem with Quentin Tarantino and how he uses violence, you're not going to like this movie. But if you do like scary movies, if you do like something off the beaten path, if you like people taking genre and concepts from films that are well established and putting just enough of a new spin on it. Like, he doesn't flip it on its side. He doesn't flip the slasher genre on its side or on its head. He just sort of just tilts it just a little bit in a direction that I guess I could call this movie sort of artistic Friday the 13th, is really kind of what this movie is. And I mean that in the highest possible regard and compliment to him, not like he's copying in any way. Again, it's hard with slashers to do something original, but I think what Chris Nash does in this movie is he does give us sort of the execution of it is far more artistic. There's real deliberation on how long he follows the killer, on how he chooses to layer in the kills, how he layers in the backstory that we get a little bit. Not too much of, which is again beautiful, real restraint. There's a tendency for some of these movies to over-explain things, and especially in horror films or any type of mystery, you do then lose the mystery of what is going on. And I do think that that's really important, particularly for horror or dark fantasy or science fiction. If you over explain things, it takes sort of that magic mystery away. And he doesn't do that at all. So, yeah, highly recommend In a Violent Nature. This is on the list of horror films that have come out or are coming out in 2024. We really started the 2024 horror flick viewing with my Kino group, with Truman and a few other friends, with uh, uh, Late Night with the Devil, which has done incredibly well, which was a lot of fun, worth watching, is now on Shudder, and now we're following it up with In a Violent Nature, and definitely plan to see Cuckoo, Arcadian, Longlegs. What was the? There's another one out there, and I'm blanking on it, but it's there's a lot of stuff from IFC, Shudder, and stuff being distributed by Neon this year. In terms of, I think they're the only original horror coming out in terms of so much going on with franchises, which are great. There's a lot of fun I'm looking forward to the Star Wars stuff and the new Mad Max Furiosa. But for those of us that like real original self-contained stories, horror or otherwise, it's again, it's another great year for horror films. We really are just continuing to truck along in this renaissance of horror films that really started, as far as I can tell, back in 1998 with Ringu, or The Ring, from Japan. And it's just been a lot of good stuff ever since. So again, highly recommend it. In a Violent Nature, written and directed by Chris Nash, in theaters now. Yeah, if there's anything else maybe in this vein or other original cool stuff that you guys have watched that we should review, please feel free to comment below. And again, if you have stuck with us and you're a regular view, please like, subscribe. It would really help us out with the algorithm. The more that we can build the channel, there's more things that we would like to do in terms of maybe a Twitch view or maybe Patreon stuff. We'll see. But check out In a Violent Nature in theaters now, and yeah, be careful because it's heavy. But enjoy. Thanks a lot, guys, and we'll see you next time.